common wisdom in New York City and the streets of London tells you one thing: don't mess with the Albanians. With their involvement in illegal activities like drug trafficking, human trafficking, and extortion, they strike fear into the hearts of many. You may have even seen them depicted in popular media like Gangs of London and Grand Theft Auto 4. But what is the Albanian Mafia? And what is it like to be a member? So stay tuned as we take a closer look inside the life of an Albanian Mafia member and explore the risks, rewards, and realities of being a part of this dangerous criminal organization. Hi, and welcome to True Crime, a channel dedicated to the dark underworld of criminal activity carried out by gangsters, mobsters, cartel leaders, and others. Let's get started. The Albanian Mafia, a name that strikes fear into the hearts of many. But what do we know about them? For starters, they operate differently than the Cosa Nostra or the Sicilian Mafia. Over the last 80 years, the Albanian Mafia has evolved, and it's not just made up of ethnic Albanians. Their entire mafia consists of families ranging from Serbians to Macedonians and even Greeks. These clans are spread out all over the world, with members in Australia, Europe, and famously, the United States. They're known to be almost impossible to infiltrate. Even the FBI says that the ones in New York City are too widespread to penetrate. They're secretive and operate with surprising criminal savvy. Just like the Sicilian Mafia, the Albanian crime families rely deeply on honor, trust, and loyalty. They have their internal laws, which make all other official laws secondary or even useless. They use a specific term called bisa, which means faith or oath in Albanian culture. If one person gives another their bisa, it means that they verbally bonded themselves with trust. But the Albanian Mafia isn't just one unified governing body that tells each family what business to do and how to do it. For example, the Rootage organization consists of mostly Albanian Americans and even some Italian Americans. The families in Germany consist of Albanian immigrants from Albania, North Macedonia, and Kosovo. Although there have been Albanian crime organizations that have been apprehended in multiple criminal activities like human trafficking, drugs, prostitution, racketeering, and more, what does a typical life in the Albanian crime world look like? Get ready to step inside the Albanian Mafia and take a closer look at the life of Joey Lika, the infamous kingpin of drug trafficking in New York City. This underworld figure was feared and respected by many, not just because of his ties to the Albanian Mafia, but also for his willingness to take on anyone who dared to cross him. Lika's violent nature and his deep-seated hatred of Italians made him a force to be reckoned with. He had his mobsters trained and ready to take on anyone, from John Gotti to President Reagan, and he wasn't afraid to use them if necessary. Lika's journey into the world of organized crime began in the 1980s when he joined forces with Cevdet Mustafa, one of 4 Albanian exiles who wanted to assassinate an Albanian communist politician. Although Mustafa's mission failed, Lika continued his criminal activities, trafficking heroin from the Balkans into the United States. For years, the Mafia was powerless to stop him, and he made millions of dollars in the process. However, Lika's reign of terror came to an end in 1985 when he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Even at his trial, Lika's Albanian relatives showed up to support him, and his father reportedly issued death threats to the prosecutors and the judge overseeing the case. It's also rumored that Lika himself offered a $400,000 contract to Rudi Giuliani's prosecutors to make the charges go away. Meet Alex Rodic, the fearless Albanian, who began his journey into the world of crime as an associate of the infamous Gambino family. But he wasn't the only one. Plenty of Albanians have made similar decisions in the past. However, Rodic was destined for something bigger. By the 1990s, he had formed a group with other Albanians and members of the Cosa Nostra, all of whom shared a common goal: to make as much money as possible through illegal means. Their first venture was illegal gambling in Morris Park, Westchester County, and it was a huge success. But for Rodic, that was just the beginning. In June 2001, he and 6 of his men entered Soccer Fever, a Greek social club that was secretly a gambling racket run by 2 associates of the Lucchese family. The men were armed and dangerous, and they didn't hesitate to use violence to achieve their goals. They beat one of the associates on the head with a pistol, scaring the others away. Rodic had tasted blood, and he wanted more. But as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. In 2005, Arnold Squiddery, the notorious Gambino family underboss, had finally reached his limit. He was done playing games and decided to take matters into his own hands. He arranged a sit-down meeting with the Rudage Corporation at a gas station in New Jersey and arrived with an entourage of 20 armed Gambino men. Rudage, on the other hand, showed up with a measly 6 men. Squiddery made his intentions clear to the Albanian mobster, Debroshi, there would be no more taking. If they didn't comply, there would be consequences. The tension in the air was palpable and a gunfight seemed imminent. But Squiddery had a different plan. He ordered his men to blow up a gas tank if things got out of hand, but he was determined to avoid bloodshed. And that day, nobody had to die. Fast forward a year later, and all the key players involved in the sit-down were behind bars. Debroshi was serving time in a Norwegian prison, while his wife and children lived in Prague. But Debroshi was no stranger to prison life. In the 1990s, he was one of the most notorious heroin and arms smugglers in Europe. He had been caught in Norway in 1993 and sentenced to 14 years in prison for trafficking heroin in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. But even a prison sentence couldn't keep him down for long. Nazar Kelmendi was a man of many faces. In 1997, he managed to escape from the Lesmos prison in Norway and made his way to the Czech Republic. But instead of laying low, he quickly established himself as the head of the Albanian drug mafia in the country. He was a force to be reckoned with, and it didn't take long for him to make his mark. But in 1999, Nazar Kelmendi's luck ran out. He was arrested once again, this time in Prague. Rumors circulated that there was a plot to assassinate him while he was in his prison cell, but Kelmendi was not one to go down without a fight. He successfully extradited himself to Norway to finish serving his sentence. According to Bosnian authorities, Kelmendi was the head of a massive criminal empire and possibly the biggest drug lord in the Balkans. He was a man who had been steeped in violence since his teenage years and had no qualms about using force to get what he wanted. Kelmendi's life was a roller coaster of crime and power. At the age of 19, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison for attempted murder in Pec, Serbia. But by the 1980s, he was a free man and making his mark in the world of smuggling. He trafficked gold and textiles from Turkey into Kosovo, building a fortune with every deal he made. In the 1990s, when the former Yugoslavia was under international sanctions, Kelmendi took advantage of the chaos and smuggled oil, tobacco, and drugs. He slowly built his criminal empire, owning many businesses, including a cigarette factory and several hotels. Kelmendi's power grew exponentially, and at one point, Interpol stated that his organization influenced Montenegro, Kosovo, Macedonia, Croatia, Serbia, Germany, and the United States. He was a man with connections in high places, and his grip on the criminal underworld was unbreakable. But with great power comes great risk, and Kelmendi's luck eventually ran out. His story is a cautionary tale about the consequences of a life of crime and the high price one pays for playing the game of power. Despite all his wealth and influence, Kelmendi found himself behind bars, his once mighty criminal empire in ruins. Thank you for watching another amazing video from our true crime team. Like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned to our next real-life true crime video. Life